days of practice. It was good to be in pads. Effort, energy, enthusiasm, all has been good. Seen a lot of good things from players out there. Starting to see some guys a little bit, making plays on a consistent basis. Corey Bell has been a guy, just with some turnovers, but has been a guy in practice that's done very well. So guys like that, you're starting to see just some consistency out there on the field. Tomorrow will be a big day for that as well. Close scrimmage tomorrow, we'll get about 25 plays per group, give or take. So we'll do a couple open field drives. We'll have a red zone drive, and then we'll do a goal line period as well if needed. If we have the goal line in the red zone or just in the other drives, we won't do the goal line at the end. We actually had a live goal line period the other day in practice, which was good, and we had a couple live short yardage situations out in the open field. So these guys have tackled. They've had some of those already. These guys are looking forward to tomorrow and getting out there playing. Quarterbacks will not be live in the scrimmage, and so that'll be the only thing tomorrow. Big day today. Lee Marks, spring coach, is his first day today, so we're excited about that. All access videos have been a hit. I think we have the third one coming out today. So Chris Mitchell's done a great job with those. There's more to come. I think those have been good for us. I know our players enjoy it. It's been good for getting some of that footage out there to people. Junior days, we got two coming up. April 5th and April 12th will be our two junior days. So those are obviously big days for us to have people on campus. So we're looking forward to that, preparing for those. Also camps in the summer, that's coming up. For information on that, it's at www.boisestatefootballcamp.com. So we'll have our team camp, renegade camp, elite camps, little guys camp, all in the summer here. So I know for some of you that like to plan ahead, you go to the website there, get a hold of Brad Rondo, you can start preparing for that as well. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Talk about how junior days have evolved and what do they consist of now today?
Yeah, they've evolved quite a bit from, even when we did it here. Junior days are an opportunity to get some of these prospects on campus. It's a chance to show them the facilities. It's a chance to show them the campus. It's a chance to be around, obviously, those student athletes and families. And there's just, the way recruiting is now, as early as guys are being offered and as fast as it's going, and the decisions need to be made, that's why junior days have become bigger and bigger, and your summer camps as well. But junior days, as far as those student athletes being able to come on campus and see what it's like on campus, is that a place I want to be? Does it fit? Is it what I'm looking for? And so on. And so, as far as getting the information out there and being able to get a chance to get face to face is really important for us.
Is this the first time there have been two of them?
I don't think so. I don't think so here. I think they had a couple of them last year, just earlier. There was one, I believe last year they had one that was about 2 weeks after signing day, so a little bit earlier. And we'll be able to do that in the future. We can bump those junior days up. You're always trying to just coordinate, because there's other schools that are having junior days. You're trying to coordinate it to make it as efficient as possible for these student athletes that are coming to campuses.
You mentioned Corey Bell. I think he's got the ball hawk like 3 days in a row. I mean, it's from him switching positions like that. What really is changing for him with that position change, and how has he looked so far?
He's looked good. He's out there. He's practicing fast. He looks like he knows what he's doing. And Corey's played, so he's got a feel for the game. So with some of the new schemes and different things that we're doing, I think he's a football guy. He gets it. And I think he picks things up very quickly. And then overall, just his effort being around the football. And I think if you just watch our practices, the reason why he's had the turnovers, he's just around the ball. He may not be at the point of attack on the play or making the perfect interception, but he is there for the tip. He's there for the fumble. He's been a guy that's just been flying around the football. And I think our defense is, overall has done that. I think they've been pretty opportunistic, in the few practices they've had.
For a novice football fan, maybe just the change he's making, what's going to be different for him? More in coverage, or what's really?
Yeah, more of the coverage. more of a one-on-one matchup you're going to get out there in the spread offenses, and being able to stay with the guy one-on-one rather than just, and I'm talking man, there'll be some more man coverage opportunities for him in there. We'll just zone and drop it into an area. And then I think is also bringing him as a blitzer. I think it's, as you look at defenses, you can always design these fabulous blitzes up, but you got to be able to get there, and you have to have somebody that can get there. And I think he's a guy that's got the ability, he's got the strength, speed, and he's got a feel for, finding windows in there on the guys that are trying to block him one-on-one.
You mentioned today that being in pads. Some of the guys you mentioned, they think in pads more. Is that something you made a conscious effort at? Is that something you did at Arkansas State, Texas? Are you doing it more than normal?
Well, we are. I mean, we're still, now we have more helmet practices that we have to have as well. So normally you have 3, we have 6. And that's just part of what we have to do this spring. And so instead of being in shells, we're going to be in pads more than we are just shells because of the helmet practices. That's more of, it's not really it's kind of the way that spring ball was set up and what we have to do to get through this spring. But I like it, and really it's not much different, throwing the pants on versus just the shells. And what that allows us to do is we can have periods in there we actually cut. If we didn't have the pads on, we wouldn't do that. But as far as the physicality and guys flying around, that's really the only difference when we put the pants on.
Dylan Sumner-Gardner obviously came here with highest ranked recruit, ever to come here. What have you seen out of him early, and is he a guy you need to be on, that needs to be on the field this fall?
I can't answer that yet. I haven't seen enough to say that he needs to be on the field. What we have seen is, and even before he got out to the field, he's a very hard worker. He's a guy that comes in here and he studies ball. He likes being around the facility. He likes this environment, which I like that about him. As far as him playing out there, he's picked up things, I think, well. I think he's got some natural instincts, and he's obviously got some physical tools and size that he brings. So the more that reps he gets, the more that he gets a chance to kind of be around our practices and the guys he's with right now, the better off he's going to be. So I think coming out of spring, we'll have a good idea of where he's at, and then for him, he'll have a much better perspective on what he needs to do in the summertime to come in fall camp and be ready. And him being here early, that gives him a chance to do that.
How's the installation? Before spring ball even started, you talked about how the practices before spring break were going to be important for to get everything installed that you wanted to, or at least the majority of it or whatnot.
Right.
So how's that gone so far, and do you feel like you're where you want to be as you hit your first scrimmage?
Yeah, I think as far as installation-wise, we are. We've loaded. I think we've loaded pretty good on the players. And I think practice 4. You see guys getting a little bit, wires crossed. Practice 5, we're still installing, and that's just part of it. It's trying to get as much in. The first 3 days, get your DNA in. From that point, you're trying to get in as much as you can in the first scrimmage. Go out there, execute it, and then we need to see where we're at after tomorrow, and then go back and reevaluate coming to the second 2 weeks after spring break. And now from that, what we thought we might have had in might change. It might change from, let's build on this concept. Let's add the wrinkle to this concept. Let's not even go that direction. And because what we do still needs to be tailored around our personnel and how we want to utilize them. And so there might be some things in there that we hadn't had in that we look back and go, we need to add this because this guy does this well, and we're going to reevaluate that tomorrow.
Grant talked about how there is more thinking involved, and last year the whole goal was to simplify it, and now maybe you're adding more shifts, motions, that type of stuff. I mean, how does that process go, and how do you kind of get figure out how much these guys can take without giving them too much? You mentioned the wires being crossed.
Yeah, I don't know yet. We haven't found that out yet. I think the one thing I know this about watching these guys and watching them prepare, they can handle a lot. I'm not concerned about that. They know how to prepare, they work at it, and we have smart football players. Now, is it perfect? And I think when I say that and they say that, is it perfect out there? No, not yet. And more so because we don't have the perfect personnel in all the right spots at this point. Guys are just getting opportunities to go out there and play. we'll detail all that up, you know, come fall camp. But there is more, you know, there's more on the quarterback, there's more on the receivers, there's more on the defense. There's just more. And plus, it's different. You know, so different is also going to feel like more. And you know, hopefully the goal is by summer they're going back through this again. They come back in fall camp, they're going back through it again, and it really doesn't feel like that much. And then you take this large amount of offense and you put it all into a game week, and now that's a small package that you're looking at going, this is all we got, and it's still quite a bit. You know, you're hoping that's the mindset going into that week, and they feel good about it.
You said that you guys probably won't be able to install everything during spring ball. You know,
Yeah.
can you put a percentage on it of how much you think you might be able to get in?
No, probably 85%. I mean, we'll get a lot in. You know, and I say 85%, and again, I'll go back to, you know, what I think we should have in and the amount of days we have, what we can actually rep. That 85% might be 100% when it's all done. Like, you know what, that other 15%, we're not doing that. Doesn't fit. And we're going to go a different direction. We're just going to give this to our guys. This is what we're good at. This is what we can handle. And then we go with that. So it's always just a little bit of a juggling act. You know, as you go back through spring practice, look at cut-ups and go, we got enough. We don't need to add this in fall. Or, you know, the nice thing about summer now, meet with these guys that you can still add, you know, as you go. And so those guys, you may not be out there with them, but they're smart enough to go out there and at least work on it and then have a good feel for it coming to camp.
You see where Kellenberg was offensive player of the day yesterday. Center is obviously an opportunity for everybody in spring ball here. How does Kellen fit into that?
You know what? He was at guard on most of the plays we kind of highlighted. He just had a good day. We ran a couple of concepts. We're pulling the guards, and he was fitting up in there and just going hard. You know, we had a couple of good sessions running the football with the offensive line in some live periods. Overall, the O-line, I think, has done well. You know, and again, kind of going back to loading them up a little bit with some more run schemes, pass schemes, you know, protections, and those type of things. Those guys have done well. Marcus Henry's been snapping for us. Mason Hampton has been snapping for us. So both those guys are doing a good job. It's still a new position for them. You know, it's not perfect. You know, we're not where we need to be at this point, but those guys are working, and the O-line is coming along. And the one thing about that is we have a pretty good D-line.
We're playing center as well.
Not in those snaps. He might have got, you know what he did? He got some with the white group. He had some snaps in there as well. But he was in there with the orange group, the twos, and he was part of the couple of run plays in there that were pretty good.
Who has caught your eye through the first about a third of the way through spring ball?
Well, there's been a few. Corey Bell being one of them. I think he's done well. Matt Miller has made plays in practice. Obviously, Jay, you know, has done some good things. I think Jay and Jack and DT, all three of those guys, you know, in practice have done some really good things. Our linebacker group, our DNs, you know, everybody in our secondary. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there, but Conley is I think had a good 5 days of practice. You know, I think he's done some really good things. I think Dante, you know, has had 5 good days of practice, you know, along with Corey. And so, you know, those guys to me just probably on a consistent basis show up each practice, do some things. They're guys that have played, they're guys that have, you know, been out there, and so they've got some of that experience behind them, and, you know, we're still growing in some areas.
Anything that's, you know, maybe different than what you thought coming into spring ball in terms of position group or something that, hey, I didn't realize we had that, or I thought that was going to be better? Or?
Not yet. You know, I won't be able to answer that probably until we get through spring. Maybe tomorrow. You know, just the one thing when you're always, you know, just tagging off in practice, and we had a couple live sessions in there, it's hard to tell. You know, if somebody's going to be, you know, more special than you thought, or, you know, maybe not as good, until you get out there and really play. And I think the best thing for us is as much 11-on-11 football as we can do, with everybody adjusting new schemes and just everybody communicating.
last year and it kind of disappeared as we got closer to the end of the season. What is he doing this spring to kind of, you know, stand out or take advantage of it?
I don't know what he did last year. I couldn't answer that from last year. I think his whole approach has been good. I don't know the comparison and all that, but as far as, you know, what he's done in the film room, what he's done in the weight room, classroom, just everything. I think as a senior, you know, things start to click. And I think Coach Riddle's done a great job with him. I think they have a good relationship, and I think the way that he's being taught, and I think also just his mindset, you know, probably factors in why he's doing what he's doing. Now we need to see that continue. I mean, he's made progress, all right, like all those guys. But we need to see that continue. Tomorrow, I'd like to see him go out there and run. See if watch him run as hard as he's been running in practice, and see what happens. But he's on the right path, and he's doing good things, and he's excited about it.
You know, looking at, you talk about what he's done in the weight room. Last fall he was 208. Now, the most recent roster he's up to 225. So he's kind of altered his physique there. Is he benefited from being a little bigger? And he's kind of like, you know, Jay's also a bigger back as well.
Right. I don't think it's hurt him, you know, as far as the way he's moving and running. You know, I don't see that. 225, 220, 217, right around there. I mean, probably when it's all said and done through the summer. And, you know, for everybody on our team, you know, guys, right now you're kind of bulking up, you know, and you're still lifting through spring practice. Summertime, you'll get stronger, and then you're going to really start to, you know, get your speed and get cut up and really go into fall camp because of the conditioning. But where he's at right now, I mean, he's moving well. He's making good decisions, running the football. He's done well pass protection. The weight helps there, the size, the strength. But he's a strong guy, so I don't think he's too far off of where he needs to be weight-wise.
Your experience coaching, he's a junior college transfer. Most of them don't redshirt. Does that make the first year for those guys maybe a little harder and they show up more in the second year?
Yeah, because they come into a team with experience and they're expected to. Now, it's a little bit like DSG. You know, he comes in here and he's got some really good physical tools. DT's got some really good physical tools, but the guys around him have played in the system longer, and so probably when he got here, you know, those guys knew it, and even the guys now, you know, for terminology-wise, there's still some similarities that they can grasp. And the new guy comes in there, you're thinking, you're not playing fast. And I just think it takes some time for those guys when they come in, especially if they're thrown right at the fire. You know, they got to do all these things plus play fast as everybody else who's already knows it. That's probably some of the disadvantage guys face, you know, when they come in here and not register, get a chance to hear the language.
Coach Brown has talked about coming up here. Has he been in touch with you at all?
Oh, he tell you?
No.
Huh?
He put that out on Twitter. Big on that
Well,
now.
you know, I hit him up. I spoke to him, or I texted him maybe 10 days ago. I know he and his wife, Sally, they're on vacation. I'd love to get him up here. You know, and eventually, he's got some things going on, and I think eventually he will. You know, I know one thing with, you know, when Pete was here, I know he and Pete, you know, had a connection there, and then obviously when I went and worked with him, so we'll keep working on getting him up here. It'd be good to have him.
You mentioned the D line. You said you guys have a good D line. That was one of the thinner positions coming into spring. What have you seen out of that group?
Well, we're thin, but just guys giving great effort. You know, I mean, I think right now the trend that we're building in the D line is what we want. The mentality, size, speed, all got to get bigger. We got to get more depth. We got to be, you know, we got to be able to have all that. But I think what Coach Caldwell and just I think the D line and just their attitude and approach has been really good. And so I think when we have the additions of the guys coming in this summer, that's going to help. But I think the mentality as far as, you know, what we're trying to accomplish there and utilizing their athletic ability, moving them a little bit, you know, I like what we're doing with them. So they've caused problems, you know, just by that. And then you think about, you know, through spring and through summer and through a fall camp, those guys having a chance to train all summer and then getting more detailed in what we're doing through fall camp, you know, come game time. Those guys, that'd be a good group.
Talking to Armand Nance yesterday, he was just saying that with all those guys that left on the D line, he's kind of stepping up a little bit from a leadership standpoint or vocal standpoint. I mean, when he got here, he was an offensive guy, and he said it took him a little time to adjust to getting on the D line. But now this is his second full spring ball on defensive line. Has there been enough time for you to notice what he's been doing there on the D line?
I've noticed.
What have you taken from him? maybe from the
You know,
leadership?
like I was just saying, I mean, he's good effort, motors. I mean, those guys, you know, you watch those guys up front, they're not always getting to the quarterback and sacking him, but in the run plays, they're plugging the gap. He's usually the guy that's taking two guys on, but hold his ground. Or when the play gets outside, you watch the D-line turn and run, hustle to the football, and just be there, you know, if something were to happen. And, you know, those guys are doing it. So to me, it's about the mentality of that group. As far as the leadership goes, you know, I think guys on the team are, you know, as they work through it and all that, you start to see it. You know, it's not just one guy in particular. You know, it's guys when somebody needs to be led or needs some encouragement, you know, guys are doing it, which is what you want. And that's part of finding the identity of the team. You know, allowing those guys to get out there to do that. Tomorrow, a lot of situations when guys really get hit, you have to play through a series, and you got to play through a couple shots you've taken. You know, you really start to see that hopefully pick up, and guys communicating with each other and just motivating each other to go out there and keep competing.
In the past, you guys have used two defensive lines, or Boise State has used two defensive lines, kind of rotating them in. Do you have enough numbers to do that, or is that something you even want to continue doing?
Would love to do it. You know, and have the numbers and all that. You always want that. I think you would love to have, you know, two groups in all positions that you can rotate through an O-line, you know, which is not what people think about. You rotate D-line, you wouldn't rotate O-line, but you want to have the ability to do that, you know, in all those positions. So I think eventually we will. You know, right now you wouldn't be able to do that. Guys are going to have to suck it up and go. But when we get some of those guys in fall or in the summer, that's going to help us.
You mentioned special teams a lot last time. What's your kind of philosophy on using your best players on special teams?
Absolutely. You know, and using them as much as we can. You know, you don't want to have a guy necessarily on 4 special teams and be a starter. And, you know, you've got to monitor that. But you need to have most of your best players out there, because that's a phase right there that can hurt you in a hurry. And Coach Riddle does a great job of, you know, I think how we progress, you know, getting our best guys. And sometimes the best guys, it may not be your starting safety. It may be the backup safety is your best special teams player. You know, so we're going to find the best guys for special teams. If it is our starters on offense or defense, they're going to play. It doesn't always work that way because guys want to have roles, and you're finding roles for guys, and guys really take advantage of their opportunities when they have special teams segments because they want to be out there on the field. So most of the time you have some of your starters out there on special teams, and you have your starters that are on special teams. And to me, that formula has worked out well for us.
How do you kind of to balance that? I mean, sorry to compare it to last year again, but Shane, for instance, he returned kicks earlier in the season, and then he got a little bit more involved in the pass kicking game, and it seemed like, you know, that role just diminished even though he still returned punts. So, I mean, I guess how do you kind of envision divvying that stuff up?
Yeah, you know, that's always kind of a balancing act too, because you have to also take into consideration if somebody gets dinged, you know, on the offensive side as well. How many reps is Shane taking? Is he going to be, you know, can he perform well enough back there as a returner and so on? That's an example. I'm just using Shane as an example, but you know, those things all come into play. That's why you got to have some depth, you know, in all those positions, not just one guy. So, you know, as we work on it right now and train, we're not training just, you know, 2 returners. We got 3, 4 guys for that reason. And if somebody gets dinged, you got to have another guy back that you feel good about. So, you know, right now, what I like what Coach Grid does is we're really working on fundamentals of just competition and special teams. It's not so much scheme as it is evaluating just guys in certain drills or certain techniques or the type of situation they're going to come up on special teams, and just watching them go out there and compete in it. And then you start to build your roster from that. We did that last year, and I really felt like coming out of that, we knew our personnel better, we knew what they could do well, and we knew how to place them. And so we're doing the same thing with returners as well.
Who you got at return, right? Which guys are working through at return right now?
Dante's back there, Shane's back there, Matt's been back there as well. Sean has been back there as well, those guys.
You had any significant injuries through the first 5 days?
No. No, we've actually, I'll tell you, you know, we've had Andrew Tursek. Now, he was, before he even got into camp, now he had his knee scoped,
Okay.
so he's not in camp. He's a guy that we weren't quite sure, but went and got his knee scoped after going through some conditioning, and before we ever got to spring practice. So he's a guy that's going to be out for spring. Other than that, a couple bumps and dings and things like that. But the guys have practiced really hard, but they practice smart. I think that's one thing that we have to continue to work on. Staying up, and tomorrow they got to go play, but they keep playing at the rate they're playing. They play with the intensity they're playing. I mean, those guys will fly around. It'll be good for everybody, and they're going to be safe doing it.
You brought Steve Caldwell with you from Arkansas State. How'd you get hooked up with him originally, and what have you taken from a year with that guy?
Yeah, I got lucky. He was an alumni of Arkansas State, and so when he was at Arkansas and that thing went down, his name, actually Terry Mahajer, the athletic director there, who had played at Arkansas State, had brought his name up. And I remember calling him. I was heading to an airport, called him, and just asked him what he was doing, and he's like, no idea. He was trying to figure it out. He had some interviews, and he was going about 4 or 5 different places. I said, well, call me if you're interested, because your old alma mater would love to have you back here, or at least have you come up here and sit down with us and see if you'd be interested. And for whatever reason, he thought that would be a good idea. He came over there, and just being around him, it was instant. This guy is really good at what he does. And then we went through our year last year, and when this came up, and it was going, things were kind of shaking down a little bit. He popped his head in there and said, "I sure love to be on that blue turd." And I didn't know if he'd ever leave Arkansas or that area, but he's a guy that's seen a lot, been around the game for quite some time, and for our staff is very beneficial. Just his experience and what he brings, his energy and positiveness, and then for our players, I think they like it. He knows that he's been around some good players, and so he can recall things that he's coached guys up on and name those names, and those guys know who they are.
Everybody talks about the youth and energy on this coaching staff, and everybody asks about him, says he might be the most energetic, crazy one of the bunch.
I think he's taken that. Yeah, he's taken that personally. But he's like that. He was like that in his interview. I was sitting there, and most guys want you to stand up and show you something. He's throwing me around the room. I'm like, that's enough. All right. And so he's got it. He loves the game. He loves being around. He loves being around the players, and I think he loves being around the staff. So there's a passion for it. He's had it. That's why he's done it for as many years as he's done it. And the thing I like about Steve is I think he kind of approaches it. He's got his experience, but he's got that kind of rookie mindset every day of coming in there and just he's got something to prove. He's got something to do. He's got something to get better on, and that's why I think he's done what he's done, and we're lucky to have him.
How much did coaching last year at Arkansas State, you had to go in first time, as a new group, new staff, new players, how much has that helped you here?
Well, I think that's helped me quite a bit. I think that experience of going through all the headaches, just first-time staff, first-time issues, all those things, dealing with, stuff I didn't deal with as a coordinator, and just kind of working through some of that and then doing it the way that fits, what we were trying to accomplish as a staff, and that was very beneficial. So that experience and those things have carried over here. There's new things that have popped up here, there's new issues, there's different things you got to deal with, but, for me personally, I feel like I got a lot better foundation of, where to go or where to find the answer or have the answer, from what we did at Arkansas State. So that was a good place, and it was a good environment to be able to do those things.
When Lyle spoke to the team yesterday, what was his message? What did he tell those guys?
I think he said this is the 68th group. Don't quote me on that. I'm trying to think of the number on it, but he just said he appreciates, the way the guys have worked. That he appreciates the fact that he's been a part of this program and gets the opportunity to do that. And just encourage those guys to keep working and enjoy the opportunity they have right now. And I think that was the message, that I heard from him, and even prior to when he spoke to him, just the opportunity. This is a great place. He had chances, to go other places. He had chances to go other places for different reasons and all that, but this is where he wanted to be. This is where his heart's at. You know, that's what he told me out there. So it's interesting to hear his perspective on, you know, Boise State then and what he was able to accomplish where it is now. You know, it's still a great place. I think we all say the same things. You know, and just to hear him say that was good to hear.
He's been obviously coming out to practice for a long time. Did he do that back when you were a player too? Did you see him on the sideline every now and then?
He did, yeah. And it was, we sang happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first time having him out there. But yeah, he's been out there. I can remember every year I was here, you know, and just obviously go over there and give your respects to a guy that's done so much for the program. And that hasn't changed. So looking forward to having him out of practice again. Told him whatever he needs. We need to open up the building whenever he wants to. We'll do that. We got keys, and just want to make sure that you know, he knows how much we appreciate him.
I think Ryan Finley was one of the players, one of the campers of the day, past weeks. You said he could only participate on an as tolerated basis. Sounds like he's been able to do a little bit of stuff out there.
Yeah, you know, that was one thing. You know, like I said before, we don't know how, you know, he's going to feel coming out of each practice, and for him, he's like, I want to do more. So we put him in the team, and now we've rotated him, you know, like anybody else out there. He's taking reps, he's throwing it. He mechanically is still, you know, we're still working on it just a little bit. I don't think he's unleashed, you know, but he's thrown now. He has thrown some really good balls. He's made some really good decisions, and he's not there yet as far as unleashing his arm and letting it go. But you know, tomorrow he'll scrimmage. We'll go out there and play him. He knows what he can do, and you know, he'll scramble if he needs to and make a play that way if he can't throw it down the field for whatever reason. But he's done well. He's done well in the classroom. He's done well out in the field. It'll just take, you know, through spring and all that. And I think in the summer it's just going to take some time to get, you know, where he just feels like he can just unload on a ball and let it go. And as far as what he's getting right now, though, is a lot more than I thought he'd be getting, you know, through spring. He's getting the reps. He's getting the mental reps on the sideline. And he's participating, so it's good.
He's the only quarterback out there that you didn't either recruit, I mean, you recruited Grant, you recruited Tommy.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for when you're looking at him? Because you weren't part of bringing him here.
Just to see how he plays the position, and really for all those guys, but just to feel out there, you know, do they understand what we're trying to do conceptually? Can they operate the offense? Can they call play from the sideline? Can they call play out in the field? Does he see, you know, and for, you know, not knowing him that well, what does he see? You know, I just kind of watch him as, you know, and does he see certain things that might indicate something, you know, pre-snap that he's able to take advantage of? What I've seen so far, he's done that. You know, not on a consistent basis, but he does have those tools, so he's got a feel for playing the position. You know, I sat in their meeting today, you know, and those guys, they take notes, and he's got his book out. He's a note taker. He listens. He answers the questions Coach Sanford asks of him. So as far as that goes, habits, preparation, all that, and he's carrying that over to the field, which is what I want to see.
Earlier you said that he had a limit on number of throws in practice. Is that completely gone?
Well, yeah, that's out. You know, that was early on. You know, the one thing, especially with the quarterback, is we don't want to, you know, irritate that again. And you know, having a couple guys out there, we like to have three. And so we were trying to be smart, and you know, he felt better than we thought he'd feel. And we've asked him every day, how does it feel? Great. So if he's getting sore or if he feels like something's going to start to bother him, you know, we want to know that. But as far as what he's told us, he feels great. So we're just working on him mechanically, but he's out there throwing. He's doing it his way right now. He's making decisions, and he has no limitations as far as we're concerned.
Looking back to the tight ends and getting to the first roster that was released with weights, you know, Holton Huff is a guy that seemed like in the moment he got here he was trying to add weight. Last year he got up to 236. Now he's down to 223. Those tight ends, I know that you ask a lot of them, so we're just kind of their sweet spot for that.
Yeah, weight-wise and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, they just need to get stronger and faster. I told Trent, when I was the tight ends coach, I told Trent Lundee you need to be 245. He went to 8 McDonald's and he came back and he was 245. All right, and he looked like he ate McDonald's. And so I said, no, I need to get stronger and faster. He cut up and he did those things and put on the right weight. And really from that point, that's really all I've ever told those guys in that position. Derek Schumann was a prime example. Hey, just get faster and stronger, and he did those things. And he was, maybe 230, 235, and he was strong enough for what we needed him to do and everybody he faced. So the same thing with these guys. If they're in that 225 range, they're strong, they can run, they're going to be fine. And Holden's a guy, he's going to fluctuate between 225, 235. Who knows? And let me say it, with the weight program in the summer, you might see him go to 245. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. So to me, it's just a matter of, those guys, obviously nutrition's a huge part of it. For those guys that are trying to put on the weight in the right way, but their numbers are going to go up. We tested them. All right, now they're lifting off the numbers and not just going in there and lifting reps. They're lifting off the numbers now. It's going to get harder, heavier, and they're going to have to adapt. And that's going to get them stronger. We're going to run more in the summer. It's going to get them faster. So all of that's going to help build. And when they come out of summer, whatever weight they are, as long as they're as strong as they can be and as fast as they can be, it'll be the right weight.
You guys have spent 2 months building all this momentum, and now you release them for 10 days. What's the message going to be to those guys as you let them go for spring break?
Yeah, go enjoy yourself. Take a break from football a little bit. That's what it's for. I mean, that's why you have the break. School, football, just everything. At the same time, we need to come back, and we have a lot more work to do, and that's the mindset, and those guys know that. I think it's good to give coaches and players a chance to kind of take a deep breath. We put in some good work so far. The one thing for those guys, and I think every time you leave for spring break, they know what to expect, and they know that what we've done so far, it's going to get more difficult as they go, and we're talking about 2 more scrimmages along the way. So told those guys, number one thing is be safe. Let us know where you're at. We always want our guys to let us know where they're going. Text us when you leave, text us when you get there, just so we know. We want our guys to be safe, but we want them to enjoy their time off with their families, friends, whatever they do, but come back and be ready to go. And we get back on Sunday night, 8 p.m. team meeting. We're ready to go for Monday.
Coach is going to get some time off?
Coach has got some time off. Yep. Yeah, we're after Friday morning meetings and classes are done. Yeah, coaches and players will be off at that point.
I feel like we ask you this all the time, but the extra scholarships that you have, or the scholarships you have remaining, have you handed those out yet, or still holding on to them?
No, we still got a couple left there.
Did you sign the kid that was here last week? Anything that you can announce there, or?
Yeah, can't announce anything.
Okay.
On that, but so we still have a couple left.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.